Oh, I'm glad you made it up here just in time. I just love being up here. There's so many fun things to do, and right now I'm looking for something. Oh, Bunny, how can you help me with your ears anyway? And Ricky, you're all falling over again. Let's see, they have wheels, and I found them already. They have wheels, and you put them on with straps, and they're really fun. Can you guess? I'll show them to you. Ta-da! They're roller skates, just like what I had when I was a little girl. And in just a minute, I'll tell you a story about them, okay?
It's so good to see you again. Come up for a visit, my friend. There's so much to do. I have so many things planned for you. We'll laugh and we'll play. We'll sing and we'll pray. I'll tell you a story or two. And we'll be friends, you and I. Yes, you and I and Jesus.
You know, these skates aren't very fancy compared to the roller skates that people have nowadays, but they sure were fancy when I was a little girl, and I wanted a pair so bad, so I begged my folks to get me a pair. But they said, Janice, number one, we don't have enough money, and number two, you don't have a place to ride them anyways because there's so many rocks on the driveway. So I went and I thought about that, and I came up with an idea. And I went back to my dad and I said, Dad, I've got a good idea. How about if I sweep all the rocks off the driveway, then I'll have a place to skate. And he said, well, that'd be a good idea. And I said, and you can pay me for sweeping them off, and then I'll have money to buy the skates with. Well, my dad laughed at me. But then after he was done laughing, he said, okay, you've come up with a plan. Let's do it. So the very next day after school, I started sweeping, and I swept, and I swept, and I swept. And I was so tired when I went to bed that night. And the next day, I swept, and I swept, and I swept. And again, I was so tired when I went to bed that night. And that went on for day after day after day. And my arms would get sore, my back would get sore. And I started to think to myself, I'm never going to get these rocks swept off this driveway. And I started to think, maybe I don't want a pair of skates anyways. But then I would think, no, I do want a pair. And so I'd go back out and I'd work some more. Well, finally, after many days, I had the day came when I was able to go to my dad and say, I've got all the rocks off the driveway. And he got out his wallet and he paid me. And then we went down to the store and we bought my skates. That was such a happy day because I now had skates. And I remember it was so much fun to skate on those skates. And every time when I skated on those skates on that driveway without any rocks, I thought to myself, I earned these skates all by myself, and it made me feel so good about myself. You know, that's what work is all about. It makes you feel good that you accomplished something useful. And there's lots of things you can do. There's jobs for everybody. Let's go meet Carpenter Don and his helpers now. Come on.
Right, we need to make this shelf, make sure that it's the correct size, guys. And what we need...
Hello, Carpenter Don.
Well, hello, Janice.
I'd like you to meet my friends.
Hi.
And I'd like you to meet Carpenter Don.
It's a pleasure. And I also have two friends that are helping me today, Nathan and Matthew.
Well, we're glad to meet them, aren't we? And do you mind if we stay and watch you for a few minutes?
Oh, it's fine. Yeah. First, if you're going to watch, you have to watch with safety glasses.
I'll put these on. These are safety glasses?
Safety glasses, yes.
Okay. Oh my, how do I look? They look different when I look through them.
Yeah, they do, but they protect your eyes so that the wood chips won't fall into your eyes.
That's a good idea.
And hurt your eyes because they're very important to save your eyes.
And everybody has them on, I see.
We're all set.
Okay.
We even have some designer ones, too.
So what are you making?
Well, we're making a set of bookshelves. The guys and I are having a good time making these shelves for the house. And we have to follow our blueprints, the plans that we have, so that everything will fit together when we go to put it together. Right now, we're checking out the measurements on the print. We need to be very precise. And let's see, Matthew and Nathan, let's see if we can get a really good measurement on here. Okay. Nathan, hold that in there. Yes. Oh, yes. Got to be exact when you do that.
Okay.
And then hold that there. Yes, 26 3/8. That's correct. Okay.
I see it's important that he holds it right at the right place.
Yes.
To be
yes.
dependable and hold
Very,
it
very
there.
dependable.
Because if he let go, I guess that would make your measurement all off, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. And then everything wouldn't fit. Yes, and what do we have here? Matthew, we have 14. Yes, that's correct. So this is the correct size of shelf for our right-hand tower. We had a little problem. We were making another shelf, and the shelf, this one, I believe is the correct one. Let's see. Yes, that is the correct one. Oh, yes, here's our broken one right here. Ah, it wasn't broken. It was miscut. We weren't being precise with our squareness.
Oh.
We'll show you how out of square this is. Let's see. Line that up exactly.
So this is called a square.
Yes,
And
it's
it
a
gets things to be
framing square, yes. And we put a line here, and yes, it does show that we're out of square by about 3/4 of an inch. So that just will not do.
That wouldn't fit, would it?
Wouldn't fit.
So someone wasn't precise when
That's
they did
right.
that. So you can see that being careful in how you measure things is real important.
Very important.
And making your lines straight and everything.
Right. And dependability when you're helping each other. And watching out and being very, very careful and safety conscious as you're working.
Well, it looks like you have some dependable helpers here.
I do. I have 2 good ones.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, thank you for letting us work with you, Carpenter Don.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you with us.
You'll need these, and my friends and I are going to go and see another carpenter now. Our next carpenter spends most of his time working underwater. Can you guess who he is? You're right. He's Mr. Beaver, and he's a very, very busy carpenter. Did you know that every year beavers cut down over 200 trees? That's a lot of trees to cut down, isn't it? What do you think they use? A saw? An axe? No, they use their teeth. And God has given beavers some very special teeth. Their teeth are like your fingernails. They never, ever stop growing. In fact, the harder a beaver works, the more trees he cuts down, the sharper his teeth get. Isn't that amazing? And if he became a lazy beaver and just didn't bother going out and cutting down trees, then his teeth would just get too long and they'd get in his way and he might even die. So for Mr. Beaver, it's a good thing to work hard. And he just keeps busy all the time cutting down trees and branches and building up his lodge and his dam to be just the right size. And he uses mud and plasters mud in and anything he can use to make his lodge and his dam just the right size. Would you like to see a real tree that a beaver cut down? A beaver near my home cut this log down, and if you look real closely at it, you'll be able to see the actual marks that his teeth made. And when he cut it down, these were some of the pieces that he bit off with his teeth. I don't think I'd want to be a beaver, but God has made beavers with just the right tools so that they can work hard and do just the right job that they need to do. Busy, busy beaver, busy, busy beaver, you work from dawn till dusk. You have no degree behind your name, and yet you are many things just the same. Engineer, architect, carpenter, in a bustling little ball of fur. Busy as a beaver, busy as a beaver, I'll be busy today. You are God's teacher from the wild, showing how to be God's little child. Careful, thorough, diligent, with a great big toothy smile.
Hey kids, if you love all the fun things you get to do with Janice and her friends, you'll flip over this. It's Janice's activity book. Loaded with fun, this book teaches scripture through mazes, puzzles, dot-to-dot games, coloring, and more. And the best part is, it's free! Let's take a look inside. The scripture on this page says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Now, let's circle the pictures that are the same. That's right, you've got the idea. There are many more fun-filled activities in this book just waiting for you. By the way, did I mention it's free? To get your very own copy, have your mom or dad write to Janice's Attic Activity Book, care of 3ABN, P.O. Box 220, West Frankfort, Illinois 62896, or call 1-800-752-3226. Don't wait, order yours today.
This busy worker is one that is found in almost every part of the world. In fact, you may have even found this worker right inside your house. Can you imagine that? Have you guessed what he is? You're right. He's an ant. You know, ants are very, very small, but they are very strong. An ant can carry 27 times its own weight. Charles, can you come here? That means that if Charles was a little ant, he'd be able to carry a small car. Isn't that amazing? It sure is. Well, I'll tell you, ants are very amazing creatures. You know, these ants are so busy. Maybe you've looked at an anthill, and on the outside of an anthill, you just see them all scurrying around. It looks like they're not doing anything. But they are. They're busy working. They're carrying food and storing it away. They're cleaning tunnels. They're building new tunnels. They're taking care of the little baby ant eggs. They're very busy workers. And I'll tell you what, the next time you're walking down the road or wherever you are, and if you see a little ant crawling on the ground, or maybe it'll even crawl up on your shoe, you just bend right down and you look at that little ant straight in the eye and you say, Mr. Ant, thank you for teaching me how to be persevering and hardworking. In fact, I think I'll tell the ants thank you right now. Oh, little ant, I'm bigger than you, but I have lots to learn from you. Oh, little ant, I need to work like you. Though rough the road and larger load, you still come through. Oh, little ant, I'm bigger than you, but I can work so hard like you. Hi. You know, one good thing about learning how to work is that then you can work in the kitchen and you'll be able to help your mom. And that's really good because, you know, when you learn how to do things in the kitchen, you can learn to make some healthy things. And I'd like to show you how to make something that's good for you and yet it tastes really good. It's a good dessert. But I'll need a helper. And Jana, I'm wondering if you can come and help. Would you like to come? Okay, we're going to make something really delicious, Jana, and it's called peanut butter cookies. Now, did you wash your hands before you came? Good. You always want to wash your hands before you start working in the kitchen. That's real important. The first thing you put in peanut butter cookies is?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter, that's right. And you measure in a half a cup, and you take your spatula and you scrape it out real well because you don't want to waste. When I was a little girl, my mom had a saying, and it was, waste not, want not. You want to scrape it out real well so you won't waste any. Okay, so you put in your peanut butter, and the next thing you want to put in is a 1/4 cup of honey. Doesn't that look good? It's not very much, but it makes them sweet enough, but we wouldn't want them too sweet because honey is a sugar. And then we want to put in 2 tablespoons of oil. See how big the tablespoon looks? It's nice and big, and we put in 2 of those. And then the next thing that we're putting in is 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And so that's one that's this size. And then we're going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's not very big, is it? And so we put that in, and then we want to start getting it all stirred real well. Would you like to stir that for me, Jana? You can stir that real well, and while Jana's stirring that, I'd like to show you the flour that we're going to put in. You look at these 2 flours, and you tell me, which one do you think is whole wheat flour? Can you guess? You're right, it's this one because it's darker, and the reason that it's darker is because it hasn't gone through the refining process. You see, white flour, they've refined it, and when they refined it, they took out most of the good vitamins and minerals and the fiber. And whole wheat flour is much better for you because it still has all the fiber and it has everything in it that God put in the wheat to begin with. And so that's very good for us. And we want to put in a whole cup of whole wheat flour. So I'll even heap this cup up just a little bit more. We'll make it a nice big full cup. And we'll put it in like this. And then, Jana, you just keep right on stirring. And you want to get all the ingredients all stirred around real carefully so that you'll have a nice, even consistency in your cookies, because you wouldn't want your cookies to have a lump of peanut butter in one place or a lump of honey in another place. You want it all evenly mixed together. And while Jana's stirring that, I'll spray some shortening onto here. And it's nice to use a spray shortening because then it's not as high a fat content for your cookies. Would you like me to help you finish that for a minute, Jana? It's starting to get a little bit hard, isn't it? In fact, sometimes you can even mix your hands in at the very end, because with peanut butter cookies, that's sometimes what you need to do. And you get it all nice, and that's a good to scrape off the spatula. Get it all nice and evenly mixed together. And then we can start rolling them into balls. And that's good. You can just set the spatula down to the side there. That's great. And then we can start rolling them into the nice little balls and shaping them into the cookies. And we'll line them up real neatly onto the tray. We'll move the spatula out of the way. And you can roll a few more, and then I'll start squashing them down with a fork. Okay. Well, you know, Jana and I are going to finish working on these cookies now. And while we're doing that, why don't you look at some other ways that kids can be helpful and that kids can do work? And you look right now while Jana and I are finishing with the cookies. Are you ready? Start looking.
Washing dishes is a great way. We wouldn't want to eat off dirty dishes, would we? Ooh, stacking wood, that gives you big muscles. And folding clothes, that's the only way to keep your drawers organized. Gardening is a good way to get exercise, and it's fun, too. Picking up litter helps keep the playground neat and tidy. And mowing the lawn makes your yard look beautiful.
Well, we let our cookies bake for 8 minutes, and we baked them at 350 for 8 minutes. And Jana, you're tasting it right now. What do you think of it?
Really, really good.
Really, really good? Oh, I think I'd like to taste one too. And remember, this is something you can make at home because they're easy and they're good for you too. I'm going to taste one too. And we're going away for a minute, but we'll be back. And I think we have a friend waiting for us outside. See you there.
Did you know that one of the best ways to become a good friend of Jesus is by spending personal time with Him every day? Well, adults do that by praying and by reading their Bibles. But if you can't read, it's kind of hard, isn't it? Or maybe you just like listening to tapes. Well, here's a fun way to have your very own devotions every morning when you get up. Janice has made these morning time devotions for her kids and for you, complete with songs, prayers, and stories. For more information, have your parents write to Morning Time Ministries, Box 208A, Kitwanga, that's Kitwanga, British Columbia, V0J2A0, or call 1-800-263-7671. Here's the number again, 1-800-263-7671.
Hi, Dr. Neblet.
Hello, Janice.
Can you tell our friends what we're doing outside here?
We're out here because we want to talk about exercise.
Exercise.
Exercise is really important to help to build strong bones and muscles.
Strong. Okay, tell me, why is exercise important to do that?
Well, you see, we know that when you don't exercise something, your muscles get to be really weak and flabby, and your bones don't stay strong at all. Really important to exercise. When you exercise, your muscles get nice and big, and your bones get great and strong.
I know there are kids out there that want to have strong muscles.
Oh, yes.
What can they do to get exercise in order to be strong?
Well, you know, the games that we play outside give us lots of great exercise because we strengthen our muscles in our arms and in our legs too. And when we're indoors, we can get exercise when we're helping mommy or daddy.
Helping? is giving exercise?
You know how we can do that?
How? Tell me.
When we're going up and down the stairs, when we're helping to carry things for Mom or carry things for Dad, we get our exercise.
Good point. What about if we're shopping and we can have a choice between an elevator or stairs? How should we convince our mom which way?
Oh, the exercise. We'll get much more exercise when we go up and down the stairs.
Up the stairs.
Oh, yes.
Good choice.
Very good things for us to do. Remember that when you're outside or when you're inside and you're doing your exercise, you're helping to build a healthy mind and a real strong body. That's the way God wants it for us.
And and you're saying we can get exercise in lots of the little things we do around our house.
That's
and
right.
at
It's a
school and
lot
everywhere.
more fun, too, than sitting down and looking at TV.
I think so. Those kids look like they're having fun,
They
don't they?
sure are. They sure are.
Well, I'll tell you what. We need to go to our story corner now, and then after story corner's over, you can go out and play like those kids are. But you come with me, and thank you, Dr. Neblett, for telling us about exercise.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go. Feels good to relax after a busy day of work, doesn't it? And I just like sitting here by my stove up in my attic. I'm ready for a story. How about you? Have you got all comfortable? I sure am. Father placed an affectionate arm around 14-year-old Bill as he started talking to him. Our country is in very difficult financial times, and the $55 that I earn each month isn't enough anymore. Your mother and I are having a very hard time making ends meet. We all love each other lots, but with 11 in our family, there just isn't enough money to go around. You know, Bill, we've had several offers to put some of the younger children into other homes, and I've been thinking that maybe we should accept one of the offers. What do you think? Bill gave his father an anxious look as he emphatically answered, "No, never, Father. We won't let any of the children get put in different homes. I'm the oldest, and I can go find a job. We must all stay together." I knew I could count on you, son. Father looked relieved as he patted Bill on the shoulder. But listen, before you go looking for a job, I want to give you a secret key. Remember it, son, because it will bring you great success. He carefully took a small package out of his pocket and handed it to Bill. Bill was very curious as he began opening the package. Inside was a key. He wondered what his father meant by giving him an ordinary key. But then he turned it over, and on the back he read, "Do more than is expected of you." Bill thought about those words as he started out in search of a job. Do more than is expected of you. The words rang in his ears. They became a part of him. He went from place to place applying for work. When he applied for a job at the Union Pacific Railroad, the foreman liked what he saw. So he gave Bill his first job. Bill's job was to work in the railroad shops where mechanics repaired the locomotives. He had to sweep all the rooms in the building. He would be working the night shift from 7 in the evening until 7 in the morning, and his wages would be $15 a month. He put his father's secret into action. He always did more than was expected of him. After all his sweeping jobs were done, he'd go help the telegraph agent. This was more than he was expected to do. The agent said he was a right promising boy and taught him how to send messages along the telegraph wires. 2 years passed. The day came when a new clerk was needed in the maintenance department. The foreman in charge of sweeping and the telegraph agent both gave a good recommendation about Bill. They said he was a right promising boy who always did more than was expected of him. So he got the job. He kept his same habits in his new job as clerk of the maintenance department. He always did more than he was paid for. When he had finished all the work the clerk was expected to do, he went and helped the timekeeper. After a few years, the timekeeper retired, and Bill became the timekeeper. He was rising higher and higher in the business. In his new job, Bill used his secret again. He was always willing to do more than he was paid for. Soon he was moved up to the very responsible position of train dispatcher. He had to make sure that some of the trains running through his state ran on schedule. After a while, he was promoted to the position of the chief train dispatcher. Now, He was responsible for keeping all the trains running through his state on time, and his salary was $120 a month. Quite an improvement over what he had been paid for his first sweeping job, and it was even more than his dad was earning now. Because he had developed good habits in all his other jobs, he continued to use his magic secret. The Union Pacific Railroad Company needed a train master. The local railroad officials searched for a responsible person to fill the position. And guess who was chosen? You guessed it, Bill, the young man who did more than he was paid for. Soon, a train master was needed in a larger city, and Bill was hired at higher pay. All the train masters before him had examined the railroad tracks while they sat in the back of their comfortable private railroad cars. But Bill was in the habit of doing every job better, so he walked over every mile of the main line, carefully inspecting the tracks for any damaged or dangerous spots. Now, let's think back to the beginning of our story. The reason that Bill got a job was to help his family stay together. Do you remember what his first job was? That's right, sweeping floors for the Union Pacific Railroad Company. Well, he always did every job better than was expected of him, and so he kept getting better paying jobs. And during the war, practically every person in the United States had heard of him because he had become so wealthy and famous. His full name was William M. Jeffers. Later on, he even became the president of the Union Pacific Railroad, which was one of the largest railroad companies in the whole world. Do you remember what his magic key was? That's right. Do more than is expected of you. Let's say that together. Do more than is expected of you. Good. When Bill was a boy, he got in the habit of doing more than was expected of him, and that was his key to success. He used it in the little jobs, the boring jobs, and the difficult jobs. And let me tell you a little secret. That's a key that will make you a happy, good worker too. Whatever you do, do it all. Whatever you do, do it all. It may not be easy, it may not be hard, but whatever you do, do it all. Whatever you do, do your best. Whatever you do, do your best. It may not be easy, it may not be hard, but whatever you do, do your best. Whatever you do, do it all. Whatever you do, do your best. Let's both promise to do that, okay? See you next time. Bye.